Welcome, everybody, this beautiful June day. Our city clerk is on vacation, so we have Miss Pam Spencer helping us out tonight. So we're not trying not to throw her too many curves. Okay. So with that, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Abraham?
Present.
Commissioner Galt?
Present.
Commissioner Kaler?
Present.
Commissioner Watkins?
Present.
Mayor Paxton?
Present. We have started a tradition where we ask a priest or a minister or pastor to come to our meetings to bless the meeting, bless Paducah. We're honored to have Pastor Nathan Joyce from Heartland Worship Center here tonight. So we'll have him give the invocation, and I thought we'd have Gerald Watkins, Commissioner Watkins, do the Pledge of Allegiance afterwards. Yeah. Pastor, it's good to have you with us.
Thank you so much. It's kind of like church. Nobody sits up front, do they, up here? So.
It's like church.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's pray together. Gracious God, we are just so thankful for all of your blessings, and they really are so many. We look at our wonderful town, our wonderful city, and the people in it, and our wonderful leaders, and we're just very, very thankful for every bit of it. In the midst of our blessing, we recognize that there's always toil and trouble and difficulties to deal with, and we're thankful that there are people who are willing to step up and to take upon the challenges that come upon us. Lord, as you know, I believe in your Son Jesus, and I just want to thank you for him and praise you for him. And I just pray that his Spirit would capture our hearts, and especially capture the hearts of Christians who are in our community. That God, we would just complain less and be more part of the solutions to to better our community. God, I just pray for our community. We love it. We love the people in it. We want to bless it. We want to bless the people and to be generous and to serve them and to see people thrive. And we ask for your blessings upon it. Please give wisdom to our leaders. We appreciate them, and we pray that they would have wisdom in every way to be able to care and to bring justice and to bring hope to so many people who are in our community. Lord, we love you and we thank you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to its republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Good to have you. Okay, Mr. City Manager, any additions or deletions?
None that I'm aware of.
Okay. We have the Mayor Pro Tem, Ms. Kaler, who has a special award tonight.
Rick Ladd, if you would come up here, please. Good to see you. Rick, tonight I want to present you with the Duke of Paducah Award. Yesterday was Rick's last day at the airport board, and so we gave him a few awards at the airport board and a little bit of trouble before he left. So Rick has been a great person, a great community leader here in Paducah, and we're going to miss him. I know he'll be back and forth, but we will miss him. So the City of Paducah would like to present you with a Duke of Paducah. I hereby confer this honor with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining, and testimony whereof I have caused these letters to be made patent, and the seal of the city to be hereunto affixed, done at Paducah this 12th day of June, in the year of our Lord, 2012, William Paxton, Mayor. And thank you so much, Rick, for everything.
I would like to thank the mayor and the commissioners for all the support that you all have given to the airport during my 10 years out there. We started with a request to have jets. We have jets. Ridership is coming up. The community is supporting this, and you all have supported with some great appointments. And it's been both an honor and a great deal of fun to have the opportunity to work with them, and thank you for that chance. And thank you for this.
You're welcome.
Very much appreciate it.
Rick,
Before you run off.
yeah, go ahead.
You
Commissioner.
go ahead, man.
Well, I just want to tell you that we're going to miss you. You've been a wonderful board member at the airport. You love that airport. Your father loved that airport. You love Paducah. Your father loved Paducah, and you're a smart guy, and you brought a lot of great ideas for the airport. So I just want to say, you've been on the board 10 years. I've been mayor 12. That airport's going to miss you, and obviously Paducah wishes you all the best going forward. So thank you.
I would just like to say one thing about Rick, and to Rick, that the thing that I noticed especially about Rick on the board is he's not afraid to ask those questions that need to be asked. And sometimes he might irritate people with asking those questions, but they need to be asked, and that's what, board members need to do. And I appreciate that in you, Rick.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Watkins?
Thank you, Mayor. I've known Rick for a long time, although he only looks about 25. But he stays in shape and has always worked out, and that's where I think I probably first met you in the gym. But you're a most intelligent young man and a driving force in this community for what's good and to make Paducah a great place to live and to move us forward in so many different areas in addition to the airport board. And I just wanted to say thanks for all you've done for Paducah and all you do and will do in the future. This community is a whole lot better place because you call it home. And so we appreciate you and all you do for Paducah.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I will miss you. I will miss you in the neighborhood, that's for sure, and the community will miss you. You've impacted this community a great deal in lots of various ways. But I know we'll see you, and good luck, and thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for your kind words.
Thank you for your service, Rick.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Don't forget us. Come back and visit often.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Okay. We have our fire chief with us, Chief Steve Kyle, who brought his wife, Buffy, and their new baby, Sophie, and their daughter, Ella. Did you bring your daughter with you? She's not here. She had other things to do. But Chief Kyle was just recently named Kentucky's Fire Chief of the Year. Received that award, and we wanted to recognize that. Why don't, Chief, you and your wife and your baby come up to the podium if you don't mind? First of all, a personal word is that we were looking for a new fire chief several years ago. Chief Kyle applied, but the chief was a very loyal person and didn't want to do anything to undercut the current chief, and consequently never really caught my eye as somebody that would make a wonderful fire chief. We went out and we did the nationwide search, and we went through that, and it was pretty obvious as we did that we had the best candidate right here in Paducah. And we kind of looked at ourselves and asked ourselves, why are we going through this process? So we picked Chief Kyle, and Chief, you've been a great chief, and you and I have had this conversation before that because of your loyalty, you didn't really want to do anything to stand out while you were in your prior position, and I respect that about you. But I think we've got the best fire chief in the country, so I wanted to say a few things. This award was presented to Chief Kyle last Friday at the 83rd Annual Kentucky Homeland Security Conference and State Fire School in Lexington. The Fire Chief of the Year Award is through the Kentucky Association of Fire Chiefs. The award emphasizes leadership, innovation, professional development, integrity, service to the public, and contributions to the fire service as a whole. Highlights for Chief Kyle: numerous certifications through the National Fire Academy, community collaboration, including his appointment as president of Hazmat No. 1, implemented a voluntary physical agility test, transitional duty policy, and an annual performance appraisal. Expanded company-level training programs and enhanced equipment maintenance program to increase firefighters' safety. Steve Kyle was hired in Paducah as the fire marshal in 1998. With the retirement of Chief Riedel Benton in 2008, Chief Kyle was appointed to the acting chief role. And in January of 2009, Kyle was officially promoted to fire chief. The chief was nominated for this award by the city of Paducah because we felt like he was well qualified for it. So, Chief, we wanted to recognize you tonight. We wanted to tell you how proud we are of you, what a great addition you make with your wife and your baby and your little daughter to our family, our Paducah family. And so I know several of the commissioners want to speak, and I'll start it out with Commissioner Abraham.
Thank you, Mayor. I remember that process we were going through. We had all these out-of-town guys come through, and we're kind of sitting around the table, and we're like, what the heck gone? The best candidate in the whole room is the guys right here that came up through the ranks, and I think that was a very good move on our part, not only recognizing the potential in you, but also sending a message to our firefighters, firefighters that if you take care of your business and do what you're supposed to do, that you can become chief of this department. And sometimes we miss that by going outside, but sometimes you hit it right, man. And I think along here, a lot of folks across the state feel the same way, so congratulations.
Thank you very much. Commissioner
Galt?
Well, you've heard us say it with the police chief, and family is also very important, and the support of the family. So it's very important that you're here tonight, and thank you for being so supportive of what he does, because he does a lot. And I think you probably do it with such a positive attitude. We forget what you do, Steve. And I'll never forget a conversation you and I had not very long after you were working in the inspection department and looking at reorganizing all that. And I said, "Are you doing okay? Is everything okay?" And you said, "Well, sometimes I feel like I'm drinking from a 5-inch, but we're going to be okay. It's all going to be all right." And it's always that kind of attitude. And I can't tell you from the city commission standpoint how much we appreciate that. And I think that's what makes you such a great leader, and we appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Chief Kyle, we're so proud of you, and as everyone has mentioned in that process, we all want to hire local, if at all possible, and we did the nationwide search, and you were head and shoulders above everyone, and that says a lot about you, and we knew we were in for a real treat for a new chief, and you've proven well above and beyond what we even thought we had, and so you well deserve that award, and if they have a national award, I'm sure you could win it too. And we're thankful you've chosen to be in Paducah, and the community's a lot better off for it. And you've made so many improvements in your department, and I'll never forget, I mean, you're a great leader, a great communicator, as you said, Mayor, and the very first thing the chief did after he got appointed fire chief was to spend time and sleep at each different fire station. To just be there on the level with his firefighters, let them know he was right there with them, shoulder to shoulder, doing the same thing they were doing. And I think that went a long way to the men and women in the fire department, to let them know that they had someone that they could trust and talk to and have confidence in, and that had their best interests at heart, and certainly the best interests of Paducah. So we appreciate all the innovative things you've done, how you communicate with everyone, and you're highly respected by all the firefighters in your department, and certainly by us too. And so congratulations, well deserved, well earned, and we appreciate you and want you to know that.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, you know, to what's given, much is expected, and I think, you know, a lot is given to you, Steve, and I think people expect a lot also, and I know that you can fulfill those expectations. And you know, I think a true leader, it's internal, it's not external, and that's what makes you a good leader, because it's all inside you. It's what you want to do, and it's the expectations you have for people that work with you. So I didn't have any kind of a doubt that you wouldn't win this award, so I'm proud to see that.
Thank you very much.
Mr. City Manager, would you like to make a comment?
Well, there's not a whole lot I can add to that. I've been fortunate to work with a number of very fine fire chiefs in my career, and I rank Steve right up there with those gentlemen, and he certainly impressed me during my time here. And we're going to talk a little later tonight about a little bit of reorganization, and my regard for his leadership is a big reason why that recommendation's been made tonight.
Chief, thank you for everything. Keep up the good work. Stay in Paducah. Don't go anywhere, and everything will be fine. So, job well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Commissioner.
Okay. All right, we'll start the meeting. We have the minutes.
I have them.
Okay.
I move that the readings of the minutes from May 8th, 2012, and May 15, 2012, and June 5th, 2012 meeting be waived, and that minutes of said meetings prepared by the city clerk be approved as written.
Second.
Okay, any comments? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Kaler,
Aye.
Commissioner Watkins,
Aye.
Mayor Paxton.
Aye. We have some appointments. Human Rights Commission, whereas subject to the approval of the Board of Commissioners, I hereby appoint David R. White to replace Charles Turok, and appoint Amber Lee Douglas to replace Mary Thorsby, who have resigned as members of the Human Rights Commission. Their term will expire July 24th, 2015.
I move that the Board of Commissioners approve the action of Mayor Paxton in appointing David R. White and Amber Lee Douglas as members of the Paducah Human Rights Commission.
Second.
Okay, any questions? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Kaler,
Aye.
Commissioner Watkins,
Aye.
Mayor Paxton.
Aye. Okay. Whereas, subject to the approval of the Board of Commissioners, I hereby appoint Sherline Holland Cooper as a member of the Paducah-McCracken County Senior Citizens Board to replace Elizabeth Clymer Weinecke, who has resigned. This term will expire June 30th, 2014. And appoint Faye Pittman as member of the Paducah-McCracken County Senior Citizens Board to replace Fannie Cole, who has resigned. This term will expire June 30th, 2015, and reappoint Randall Dawson as a member of the Paducah-McCracken County Senior Citizens Board. This term will expire June 30th, 2015.
I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt the action of Mayor Paxton in appointing Sherline Holland Cooper and Faye Pittman as members of the Paducah-McCracken County Senior Citizens Board and reappointing Randall Dawson as a member of the Paducah-McCracken County Senior Citizens Board.
Second.
Any comments? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Kaler,
Aye.
Commissioner Watkins,
Aye.
Mayor Paxton.
Aye. Whereas, subject to the approval of the Board of Commissioners and jointly with McCracken County Judge Executive, I hereby reappoint Basil Drosos as a member of the Paducah-McCracken County Joint Sewer Agency. This term will expire June 30th, 2016.
I move that the Board of Commissioners approve the action of Mayor Paxton and jointly with the McCracken County Judge Executive in reappointing Basil Drosos as a member of the Paducah-McCracken County Joint Sewer Agency.
Second.
Questions? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Kaler,
Aye.
Commissioner Watkins,
Aye.
Mayor Paxton.
Aye. Just want to thank these people. As the commissioners can tell, their qualifications are good. They agree to serve to help Paducah, make Paducah-McCracken County a better place, and I want to thank them all for doing that. We go to motions. Who's got that?
I got it.
Okay.
I move that the following documents and bids be received and filed. Certificate of Insurance, Asphalt Paving Incorporated, Berm Stripping Company Incorporated, The Hutton Company, Lee and Associates, Phillip and Jordan Incorporated, Right of Way Bond, Hutton Construction Incorporated, Contracts and Agreements, Paducah Fire Department Agreement with Uniforms with Bluegrass Uniforms, Paducah Fire Department Agreement for Structural Firefighting Turnout Gear with Bluegrass Fire Equipment, Noble Park Pool Rehabilitation Addendum Number 1, Concession and Spray Pad with Florence and Hutchinson Ordinance Number 2012, Paducah-McCracken County Convention and Visitors Bureau for 2012, amend and restated Memorandum of Understanding with Hignan Development Incorporated, Deeds and Sales of Surplus Properties. 1110 Bell Avenue and to Vicky and Kenneth Krauts, 705 South 11th Street to John and Shawana Biles, 233 Hayes Avenue to David Michael Dean. The City of Paducah Department of Finance report for periods ending December 31st, 2011, February 29, 2012, and March 31st, 2012. Paducah-McCracken County Riverport Authority operating budget for 2012-2013. Paducah-McCracken County Senior Citizens Incorporated financial statement dated June 30th, 2011. Paducah Water financial highlights for March 31st, 2012 and April 30th, 2012. Notice of cancellation of commission meeting for Tuesday, May 22nd, 2012 for the Board of Commissioners of the City of Paducah. The Finance Department, Paducah Finance Department, various non-for-profit organization financial statements, audited financial statements, and RS Forms 990s all have requested city funds for fiscal year 2013. And those agencies are Paducah Film Society Incorporated, Yizer Art Incorporated, River Heritage Center Incorporated, Paducah-McCracken County Convention Center Corporation, Paducah Junior College Incorporated, Paducah Area Chamber of Commerce Incorporated, Transit Authority of the City of Paducah, Luther F. Carson Four River Center Incorporated, Market House Theater of Paducah, Kentucky Incorporated, Museum of the American Quilters Society, Paducah Symphony Orchestra Incorporated, Entre Paducah, GPEDC Incorporated, Uppertown Heritage Foundation, Metropolitan Hotel.
Second.
Okay, any questions? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Kaler,
Aye.
Commissioner Watkins,
Aye. Excuse me, aye.
Mayor Paxton.
Aye. We go to municipal orders, personnel changes.
Upon the recommendation of the city manager, the Board of Commissioners of the City of Paducah order that the personnel changes on the attached list be approved.
Second.
Okay, Cindy?
Yes, Mayor and Commission, it's been some time since we've presented personnel action, since May 15th, so you see a good, healthy list of actions. I believe they're mostly self-explanatory. But I would like to point out, we do have in the audience tonight Ms. Katie Graves. Katie, if you wouldn't mind saying hello, and Lisa, if you would, Lisa Thompson, the Director of the PRA. Just wanted to introduce her. Katie is our new marketing specialist in the Paducah Renaissance Alliance, and wanted to give her an opportunity to be recognized.
Good, good. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Katie Graves. I'm the new marketing specialist, as she said. I just wanted to thank you all for the opportunity to hold this position. I'm just really excited to get to work on promoting some downtown Paducah events and everything. So thank you.
Well, Katie, is
Yes,
that
sir.
right, Katie? Welcome.
Thank you.
It's good to have you. Lisa certainly is ready for some help. And I think it's important for you to know that this commission sitting up here, to a woman and to a man, supports downtown and supports Lower Town. And what we want more than anything is to have a vibrant downtown, to have a vibrant Lower Town. And Lisa thinks that you're the person to help her do that. So we're excited to have you. Everybody tells me how enthusiastic you are and how much energy you have. So we're ready to have you hit the ground running, and we know you'll do a great job for us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to just, you should be so excited
Yeah.
because you have these skills for marketing, and we have such a marketable downtown. So that's got to be a hit right
It's
there.
really exciting.
So
Yes, sir.
congratulations.
Thank you.
All right.
Lisa, you got anything you want to add?
Just that she's been on board a week now, I think, and she's already hit the ground running, and we got our first e-blast that went out last week promoting all the events that are downtown. So I'm really happy to have her on the team, and I think with her background, she's a local, she's from Kevel. She has a master's degree and a undergraduate degree from Murray State, so she has a lot to offer the city and PRA. So I'm excited to have her on my team.
On the downtown side of it, you want to just brief us on how downtown, I'm still calling it downtown after dinner, but
Live on Broadway.
Live on Broadway. Give us
Yeah.
a quick report on that.
Yeah, we've had our 3 Live on Broadways. They've been very well attended. Each week we have a different rotation of acts and performers that are coming in, and they're sort of moving from one area of Broadway around Market House. We've got several local businesses downtown that have been opening up each night and doing quite well, so I thank the community for coming down and supporting them. The businesses are very happy, so I think so far we started off to a good start.
Good.
And the thing I really like, Lisa, is that you're having the acts on Saturday night actually promote the businesses. It's like a little advertisement they're doing, Be sure to stop in the shops and
Right. Well,
That's
some of
good.
each one of them have, been doing sort of special promotions. So the bands have been very willing to sort of do little mini
great.
advertisements for us, and thank the people for coming down and sort of highlighting the unique shops that we have. So, yeah. So far the feedback is very good. So, thank you.
On the USA Today a day or so ago, there was a picture of Niagara Falls, the city of Niagara Falls in New York, and they were touting a high wire act that's supposed to bring Niagara Falls back by people coming into the city to watch this walking this high wire. And so I thought maybe we could string one between the top of the Cobb and the bank building. and do that every Saturday night. What do you think?
Are you volunteering?
No, but Gerald said he'd do it.
Well,
I don't think Cindy would let us do that.
who's the newest one on the block? That would be you. So there you
No,
I've been on the-
seriously.
I've been on the top of the bank building, and it gets windy up there.
Yeah, it does.
I wouldn't want to do that.
Well, listen.
I don't know about that, but I have been looking into actually doing sort of digital graffiti on the buildings, so projecting artwork and mini movies and things like that. So
Well, great.
that you might see in the future, but I don't know about
You had a big crowd Saturday night. There was a good crowd there.
Yeah, it's been well attended all night, so we're very pleased.
Well, when you have good shows, good bands, people are going to come. If you
Well, and I
don't,
think
they're
it
not.
really helps that a lot of the businesses are opening again, and
Yeah.
the restaurants are opening, so, all of that sort of creates a really good positive vibe for the
Good.
city.
Good. Well, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Welcome, Katie. And Cindy, you don't like the High Wire Act?
Well, I would have to check with KLC and get back to you, Mayor. Interesting suggestion. Might be specifically excluded.
Okay. All right. So anything else on the
No, if
Personnel?
you have further questions, I'm available.
any questions for Cindy?
Well, you could have bungee jumping off the roof if we couldn't do the high wire.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Kaler,
Aye.
Commissioner Watkins,
Aye.
Mayor Paxton.
Aye. Civic Center rental rate adjustments.
I move that a municipal order entitled, a municipal order amending municipal order number 1470 entitled, municipal order setting new rental rates for the Robert Cherry Civic Center, formerly known as J.C. Civic Center, to adjust all rates be adopted.
Second.
Okay, Mark?
Mayor, when I first got here, there were 17 years before they had done any adjustments. So in my 11 years, this will be the third. So about every 3 years since that point. This is between a 22 and 28% increase on each of the primary rental areas that are used the most. So that's kind of where we're sitting with this. And it's we checked other facilities, and we're still in the ballpark with many of them. American Legions, the Knights of Columbus halls. We're still under some of them too. So there is some room for us to move over the next couple of years. But right now, this was the recommendation.
Questions, comments? Good. I think it was time. We've got to be competitive on our rates. So, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Kaler,
Aye.
Commissioner Watkins,
Aye.
Mayor Paxton.
Aye. Global Fire Prevention Grant.
I move the municipal order entitled, a municipal order authorizing the mayor to execute an application for a fire prevention grant to GM Global Foundation in the amount of $2,500 for funding to be used to assist in the cost of the assessment, testing, interviews of youth in the Juvenile Fire Setter Intervention Program be adopted.
Second.
Okay, Chief?
What you see before you is just an application for a grant to help support the Juvenile Fire Center program that we have in operation. As clients come into that program, we have to have an assessment done. That assessment costs money. The group that we have giving us that has done some for free, but whenever we can, we try to make sure we cover that cost. So this grant is for us to have money available to do assessments on children that come into the program.
Any questions for the Chief? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Kaler,
Aye.
Commissioner Watkins,
Aye.
Mayor Paxton.
Aye. Sale of surplus property.
Oh, it's at me. I move that a municipal order entitled, a municipal order approving the sale of real property located at 1009 South 8th Street for and in consideration of $100 to B.A. Hamilton be adopted.
Second.
Okay, any questions, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry. I was busy getting my deal so I know which commissioners have the deals to read, so Mr. Irvin.
Just three more properties. This brings it up to 30. So we're getting closer. We only have 25 properties left. We started with over 60, so.
That's great.
The advertising we've been doing lately is paying off.
So that what that means is that people, instead of having properties where the grass is high, it looks terrible, these people take those properties and they keep it mowed and they keep it attractive, and it's a good thing for the city.
And it relieves us of maintenance responsibilities.
It relieves us of maintenance responsibilities. Any questions for Steve?
Yeah, I just want to say, Steve, I appreciate the background information on how the property was acquired and how long we've had it and all that information. It really helps. So thank you.
Okay, we vote on these separate, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Kaler?
Aye.
Commissioner Watkins?
Aye.
Mayor Paxton?
Aye. Commissioner Galt.
I move that a municipal order entitled "A Municipal Order Approving the Sale of Real Property Located at 2226 Site Street for and in consideration of $105 to Sally L. Davis be adopted."
Second.
Questions? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Kaler?
Aye.
Commissioner Watkins?
Aye.
Mayor Paxton?
Aye. Commissioner Kaler?
I move that a municipal order entitled "A Municipal Order Approving the Sale of Real Property Located at 626 Burnett Street for and in consideration of $268 to Robert Cherry Jr. be adopted."
Second.
Okay, any questions? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Kaler?
Aye.
Commissioner Watkins?
Aye.
Mayor Paxton?
Aye. Ordinances and introductions, Commissioner Watkins.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Authorizing the Mayor to Execute a Service Agreement with Motorola for Fiscal Year 2012-2013. This ordinance is summarized as follows: that the Mayor is hereby authorized to execute a service agreement with Motorola for yearly maintenance of the 800 megahertz radio controllers, individual department radios, Paducah McCracken County 911 dispatch consoles, telephones, and other related radio equipment in the amount of $57,894.36. This contract shall expire June 30th, 2013.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Stringer.
This is your annual contract that you have in Motorola that we do every year. I think from last year it went up about $200. I looked at that earlier. And as the commissioner said, it pretty much is a service agreement for the total infrastructure for the 800 megahertz radio system that not only the public safety uses, but the public works, the parks department, everybody that's on a city radio system uses this same one.
Any questions?
Questions?
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Abraham?
I move that the Board of Commission to introduce an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Approving Amendment Number 5 to the Frequency Reconfiguration Agreement between the City of Paducah and Nextel South Corporation for the rebanning of the 800 MHz Public Safety Radio System, and authorizes the Mayor to execute same." This ordinance summarized as follows: the City of Paducah approves Amendment Number 5 to the Frequency Reconfiguration Agreement between the City of Paducah and Nextel South Corporation for rebanning of the 800 MHz Public Safety Radio System. This amendment deletes Schedule C approved by Ordinance Number 2011-11-7876 and creates a new Schedule C to accurately reflect the reconfiguration cost.
Second.
Okay.
Just to let you all know that we are on the very short end of the stick of getting the rebanding done. We've been doing this since 2006, if it gives you any idea how long it's taken to do this, because Sprint Nextel is a big corporation, and so they've wanted to make sure that everything was correct in what we were doing, and this pretty much will hopefully get that down to where we're going to finalize this by July or June 30th of this year.
Okay, any questions? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mr. Galt.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Paducah, Kentucky, establishing a new division within the Fire Department to be known as the Fire Prevention Division and abolishing the Department of Inspection." This ordinance is summarized as follows. The ordinance authorizes the City of Paducah, Kentucky, the city, to create a new division within the Fire Department to be known as the Fire Prevention Division and to incorporate all duties, functions, and responsibilities of the Department of Inspection into the Fire Prevention Division. In order to incorporate this reorganization in a meaningful manner, the city is authorized to abolish Chapter 19, residential rental occupancy permits of the Paducah Code of Ordinances, and create new Chapter 42, Article 2, Sections 42 through 61 to 42 through 83 to incorporate the sections formerly known as Chapter 19, residential rental occupancy permits, and amend and restate the following described chapters of the Paducah Code of Ordinances: Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 1 and 5, Chapter 18, Chapter 42, Article 2, Sections 42 through 31 through 42 through 46, and Section 60, and Chapter 46, Articles 1 and 2.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to ask the city manager to kick this off, but I want the viewing audience to know that Chief Kyle and Greg Cherry made an extensive report to the department heads and to the commission last Tuesday during the day at our budget workshop. So the commission has been briefed on that. We're fully supportive of this, and so this kicks off the introduction, making it into law. So having said that, Jeff?
That concludes my remarks. No, what I couldn't say is that the commission is fully supportive of it. I have to let you vote on that. But I appreciate that, Mayor. And I want to say in a very related way that Chief Kyle is here tonight to talk with you all about the details of the ordinance changes that are necessary for this to happen. And this does represent a major reorganization within the city. It's taking what is now and has been forever a freestanding department and incorporating, in fact, consolidating it in with one of probably our second biggest line department in the city. For reasons that, as the mayor said, came out last week in a presentation and an exchange with the commission that lasted over an hour, I think, where we talked about what some of the discoveries were during the 9 or 10 weeks that the fire department had a trial run with the inspection department. Indeed, some of the changes that were instituted during that time that are in place now or in process or that have been identified and foreseen as being wise to pursue down the road. So again, if time had permitted tonight, we might have shown the presentation again. I think we're going to have a coverage in the newspaper here coming up where some of that will come out for the public. But I'm very excited about this. I'm very pleased and impressed, as I've said a number of times, with the work that Chief Kyle and Chief Cherry have done throughout, working with the staff, all of whom have been there, I think, for a fair amount of time down in the inspections department. And this is not something where a particular charge was given to the fire department for that interim period of time, nor was there a great well-defined expectation. There was an opportunity to bring a new look, maybe some new philosophy, new eyes, maybe consider opportunities for some change at the cultural level. And all parties, I think, have responded very, very admirably. I think we've got the opportunity as a city to make this change for all the right reasons. Not the least of which, as I commented earlier, the strength of leadership that we have in the fire department, as well as the depth of experience and range of skills that exists with the staff in what hopefully here will be the former inspections department. So with that said, Chief, if you would comment on the numerous changes to city ordinances that have to be made here. This is just one piece of work that this department later on in the period of 90 days or so picked up as a part of the transition. When I knew that I was going to make this recommendation, we had to make sure that we had all the recognition in the city code where all the authorities lie for what the inspections and the code enforcement department had done before, and now those areas have to be transferred over to the fire department, and this division within the fire department be recognized as having those functions in it. So thank you.
Well, all right, commissioners, if you would, there is a two-piece paper in the front left-hand pocket of your folders there that summarizes these changes that I'm going to highlight here for you. The changes to the ordinances covers 5 chapters of our code of ordinances. We're sprinkled out in amongst 5 of those chapters. As a result of this, we're going to shrink that to 4, and I'll talk about that here in a moment. But I'm just going to go through each one of the sections in the packet that you received over the weekend to talk about the substantive changes in each of those chapters and talk about some of the more general changes out there that don't require a lot of detail. In section 1, we had to amend chapter 2 to delete the inspection department. It existed as a department in that section, so we're deleting that as we're incorporating it into the fire department. In section 2, there is specific articles in there about the fire department. Some of these changes we updated because the references to the fire department had not been updated in a while. We included deputy chief and battalion chiefs in the language that we had. They previously were not there. All that was there was fire chief and assistant chief. So as we have progressed over time, some of those updates had not been made. We also gave the chief of the department the responsibility for the different positions. That was not previously lined out in the ordinances itself. We talked about the different divisions within the fire department and named them so that it was clear on the line of authority. An item that's unrelated to the inspection department merger is the residency requirement. It is an item that had been in there for a while, needed to update it. It was set at 15 air miles, and within the 15 air miles, you could be an hour and a half away from the community. So we changed it to a model that I adopted from the Army that they utilize on a regular basis, utilizing an internet mapping service like Google Maps or MapQuest, and changed it to 45 minutes from station number 4. Station number 4 is the center of the geographical area now, and the mapping service is, you can pick an address point and more clearly outline where it is and what timeline it recommends that you can get back to the community in that fashion. Another change in there in the article, chapter 2 in the articles on the fire department, was just updating some of the language about our selection and process to match our current contract. Our contract language and our ordinance language didn't necessarily match, so we're just making those things, putting those on the same page so that they're clear. And then in the grievance procedures that we had in that article, also that was all referencing the assistant chief in that process, and we made that supervising chief officer, as we have different chief level officers in the department. Didn't want to be so specific that it would get someone out of their line of authority. In section 3 and chapter 18 changes, we actually created the fire prevention division where it wasn't previously listed and gave all the responsibilities that we have for the fire prevention division currently and all the responsibilities for the inspection department, incorporating them into the division. We made general reference changes throughout the chapter to building an electrical inspector and changed that to fire chief or his designee. In many of these chapters throughout, it was a lot of the responsibilities hung on a specific position rather than a department. So we changed that to be general in nature so that, you know, the department or the division has that responsibility rather than the individual, because not all the responsibilities had to be done by the building and electrical inspector. And the way it was laid out is that the building and electrical inspector were the same person. And we have those responsibilities divided, as well as some of responsibilities that were listed don't have to be done by that particular discipline. It can be done by the fire marshal or deputy fire marshals as per se. We included utilities in reference. The utilities were named by name in there, and it didn't incorporate all of the utilities that we deal with, and so we just changed that to be general in nature. One of the items that was specific to the building and electrical inspector was demolition. That doesn't have to be done by that individual. The fire department already had that capability by statute, and we have statutory authority to conduct that as well. So we just changed that to the division where that individual doesn't have to do that. In section 1890 of chapter 18, we split the chief electrical inspector and deputy electrical inspector out. As I mentioned already, those positions were combined to basically the same person. As you saw in the organizational chart that we covered last Tuesday, we've made that its own area of responsibility with individuals that have that capability to do those jobs. And this is just referencing that in the ordinance itself so that those duties are fully covered by those individuals. And by virtue of that, that changed the building inspector responsibilities. Where it had building and electrical before, it just has building now, and those responsibilities reference that position. In section 4, chapter 19 and chapter 42. Chapter 19 was our rental occupancy permit program. We combined that into chapter 42, which is our nuisance code enforcement. They so paralleled one another, and they are done by the same employees that have that responsibility. It just made sense to combine those two chapters and put it all under code enforcement. And again, throughout that chapter, we have many references to the building inspector, building and electrical inspector position, and we changed those references to the fire prevention division so that whatever employees are delegated those responsibilities can conduct those duties. Another item of note in that, because we combined the rental occupancy chapter with the nuisance code chapter, we also combined the appeals board. We abolished the rental occupancy permit board and combined, or you could say we gave those responsibilities to the nuisance code board. And as a result of giving those responsibilities to that board, we increased that board from 3 members to 5, and having the quorum for 3 for us to cover all of those responsibilities. And then in section in that same chapter, we changed the fee. We updated a little bit to cover what our actual costs are. It had a $15 fee for the inspection and the registration. We changed that to $25 for the issuance of the permit, and then $25 for the renewal annually, and then any follow-up inspections that had to be done as a result of violations that were found. That's for the rental occupancy permit program only is what that applies to. In section 5, you had chapter 42 that was addressed. Most of the changes throughout that were updating appropriate references throughout the chapter itself as a result of the combination of chapters 19 and 42. Also, we changed the building and electrical inspector to fire prevention division. One of the big changes in that was changing our fine schedule. The way our fine schedule was set out, our fines and fees associated with inspections could get out of control very quickly. We changed, because they were based on per citation, and that compounded very rapidly because of the way it was set up. We changed it to be per inspection, and then we set that to cap at what the value of the property is, so that it wouldn't make it so that the property couldn't be sold, or that someone couldn't come in and try to rehab the property with the amount of fines and fees that were assessed against it. And that value that we're using to establish what it's worth is by the PVA's assessment on the property itself. As also within that same fine schedule, we consolidated some categories so that it wasn't so confusing. A lot of them there was just too many listing when they were the listings that you could fine for were actually just broad when they could be simplified and put into broad terms to make it more user friendly and easier to follow for the inspectors. Something you saw last Tuesday, we created a code enforcement section, and as a result of doing that, we had to highlight that in the ordinance for that creation. And then something that did not exist prior to this change. Right now, the way fines are assessed, there's no way for an individual to appeal those except to the board. And the board is the only individual that, the board as a group is the only group that can do anything with those fines. And that is only if it is appealed within the proper time frame. Greg and I believed that we needed the ability to conditionally waive some fines. If we had a circumstance, and as a part of this, they have to go through a submission to argue why they need a conditional waiver. But that we needed the ability to conditionally waive these fines based on the fact of some circumstance that existed out there that no one had any control over, is the way I know to frame it for you. We've encountered this several times. We've had property owners that have moved and forwarding addresses weren't recorded. There's been a bunch of different reasons, really. But without this, we are handcuffed. If we had an individual walk through the door today that wanted to do something with their property, they're ready to pull the permit, they've got money to do the work, we couldn't let them do it. And ultimately, as I was telling you last Tuesday, that is what we're trying to get to a point. We want to get property owners re-engaged. And this is just one of the methods that we believe we can do that. Now, if they don't re-engage like they say they're going to, we reinstate everything that is assessed against the property. But this is a key element that Greg and I believe is very important for us to be able to have available at our disposal to allow property owners to get re-engaged when circumstances warrant it. And then in Chapter 46, Section 6 of the document that you saw in Chapter 46, that is where the Fire Prevention Code is referenced. We inserted a title to the article that it is the Fire Prevention Code. We changed references from the Fire Marshal's Office to the Fire Prevention Division, and specifically named the Fire Marshal as the Fire Chief's designee for the enforcement of the code. Now, I know that was a lot to take in, and it was a lot to summarize. As you saw the packet, it was probably a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch thick with all the ordinances in their entirety, but those are the substantive changes throughout the ordinances themselves, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions you have at this time.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't have any questions. Just I'd like to comment on the reorganization and the thought process that went through that. A couple of things that we were privy to hear on last Tuesday was that recognizing who our customer base is. And anytime as elected officials we can create an environment where those things, specifically that, is brought to the forefront, at the same time maintaining the integrity of what the inspections department, what it does, making sure that buildings are safe. That this reorganization is exactly what I think a lot of folks has been wanting to see, not knowing exactly how to put it together. And you being Fire Chief of the Year, and having Mr. Cherry right there with you, has shown that this is exactly the type of reorganization we need, and I'm excited about the department.
I hope I didn't set that bar too high.
Anybody else with any comments?
Just go ahead.
I would like to see if it's at all possible, Pam, if there's a way to get that information out that, I'm a visual learner, so seeing it the way that I saw it last week really made a difference. I mean, it it was so easy to understand how much more efficient it will be, and the can-do attitude really came across. All those things. I don't. If
We
there's
just put the presentation on our website intact.
it would be great.
Okay, sure.
And I think the organizational chart, if
Part of
you
it.
could put that in the paper, that would be, I don't know if you can, but
Yeah, I was
it
just,
really shows it.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say, I wish the entire public could have viewed and listened to your presentation last Tuesday. They would be 100% enthusiastically supportive and say, wow, finally, thank God, this is really a pleasant change. And so we're a lot more responsive to the public and the builders and the people who do business with City Hall. And this is just going to be a tremendous change, and the public's really going to appreciate it. So you deserve a credit for an awful lot of work, you and Chief Cherry. And so we appreciate your hands-on and your vision and designing a system that'll work.
Yeah, I just want to say, Chief, that I want to thank the city manager. The city manager realized we had a problem and started thinking about how we can restructure that area. And so, Jeff, I know you worked hard on this, and we appreciate it very much. Chief, you and Greg stepped up and said we can do this. This is a good idea. And the inspection department is so very, very important to a city. It encompasses so many different areas. A couple of examples. If there is an economic development prospect out there and they're wanting to build a building and add jobs, if we can't work with them and come up with solutions, then we have a chance of losing that prospect and losing those jobs. If an economic development prospect is wanting to expand, the same problem. So we've got to know what we're doing. We've got to be, Greg used this Tuesday, we've got to be customer friendly. And there are other areas. You've got our constituents that are out there who are living in their homes, and they want their neighbors to keep their homes as attractive and their yards as attractive. They don't want certain types of vehicles or certain type of items in the yard. And so we've got to address that. We owe it to our constituents to address that. And so there are lots of different things that we have to do well, but we have to be fair. So I know this organization can do it, and so good luck, and I know it'll be a great department.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Your all's commitment and support to these changes that we're making here is key, and I don't want emphasis to be lost on that. This is going to be, as I told you the other day, it's going to be a long process, and we've made a lot of strides already, I believe, but it's gonna need your all's continued commitment to it, as I know you have, and our continued focus on it to ensure that we make all the strides that we know we need to make.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Kaler.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Adopting the City of Paducah, Kentucky Annual Budget for Fiscal Year July 1st, 2012 through June 30th, 2013, by estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the operation of city government." This ordinance is summarized as follows: adopting the City of Paducah's annual budget for fiscal year July 1st, 2012 through June 30th, 2013, by estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the operation of city government at $59,959,140, and summarized by funds as follows: General, $30,892, $892,460. MAP, $1,377. Investment, $4,999,000. $978,170. CDBG, $1,114,000. Home, $392,000. Telecom, $273,000. E911, $1,659,235. Court awards, $43,850. Debt, $2,834,275. CIP, $1,959,850. Bond, $250,000. Solid waste, $4,914,795. Civic Center, $77,025. Rental, $306,000. Radio depreciation, $123,020. Fleet, $583,745. Fleet Trust, $1,972,175. Self-insurance, $973,705. Health insurance, $3,533,600. Maintenance Trust, $8,090. PRA, $52,000. AEPF, PFPF, TRSTS, $1,686,145, for a total of $59,959,140.
Second.
Okay, Mr. City Manager.
Well, it's a lot to try to summarize, and again, we did have a budget workshop last week and spent a fair amount of time on the budget proposal. The budget is required to be in balance, of course it is. Total revenues match total proposed expenditures. We did highlight in the workshop some important trends, some things that maybe stand out this year. Some of it got picked up in the newspaper on the revenue side, and the point that we made that we have some what we would call fairly structural expenses that continue to rise, that pose a challenge for the city to maintain at a time when our major revenue sources are more or less flat. So that creates a challenge, and at some point might create a problem that will necessitate some tough decision making on one or both ends of the budget. This city has done a responsible job of managing expense increases over the years. I'm informed by the finance department, and I think the city commission has been provided with this information, that the city workforce has been decreased by approximately 10% over the last 5 years. And in fact, we have 2 reductions in force as part of this budget. So that trend continues to try to become more efficient through a number of means. I think the 2 reductions in force that are part of this budget were possible in part because of the use of increased technology in that particular department. The city embraces technology. That's a big component of the change and the advancement that I think the public is going to see from a customer service standpoint in the, I almost said inspections department, I'm at the fire prevention division. Technology costs money, but it's a wonderful investment. Next year will be another challenge, and with this economy being as unpredictable as it is from day to day, our revenue sources that are fairly elastic where the economy is concerned, it's a little hard to predict today what things are going to look like 9 months from now. We are in a multi-year trend of a declining annual revenue on the insurance premium tax, which has been the same rate for years, but the revenue has declined by a couple $100,000 plus a year for several years now. Fortunately, the payroll tax at the same rate has generated a little bit more money, and so there's been some offset there. Still, at the end of the day, not enough to keep pace with some of the increased expenses. I think it's important for the people to know that some of the information that's come out in the media and some that we brought out last week very legitimately about one of the major drivers of expense increase is the employee pension. That is not something the employees devised. That is a creature of the state legislature, and the city is a participant. In fact, I think is mandated to participate in it. So while it's easy to point to that expense and the impact of that increased expense on the city budget, we don't manage that thing. And apparently it hasn't been managed as well as it should have been over the years, because the required matching percentages on the part of the cities in this state are astronomically high. I've never seen anything like it. So when we see what percentage of our employee costs are associated with the pension, it is very, very high, but it was not the employees' choosing. I want to make a couple comments about what we call our investment fund, and that is the portion of the payroll tax that was added most recently that is managed somewhat separate from the rest of the general fund. It was put in place for 3 or 4 purposes: economic development, community development, infrastructure, and debt service. We continue to project an increase in that revenue as we do the rest of the payroll tax, so that's a very good thing. For the most part, the commitments that the city has made to various agencies, partner programs, so on and so forth, for the past few years are continuing forward next year with maybe some very slight modifications. As has been mentioned before, we are setting aside the amount of $425,000 next year as the first of a 2-year accumulation of funds for what we project to be site development costs that the city will incur for the downtown motel project. We actually budget a very small amount of money for community development, which is one of the 4 authorized programs. The investment fund takes in around $4.5 million a year. We budget only, or we're proposing to budget only $350,000 of that amount, which is less than 10% for community development. The bulk of that, about $300,000, is for continued activity in the very, very successful Fountain Avenue area. The other $50,000 is simply to transfer the rather limited amount of money that we had budgeted in the general fund for demolition of properties to this fund as a way to relieve just a little bit of pressure on the general fund. Of significance in terms of changes for next year, we are going to budget the second year of a new program, which is a modest amount of money, $125,000, to be used for rather small projects for city-owned buildings. Things like last year we replaced an overhead door or 2 at the police department. We replaced some concrete decking in front of one of the fire departments. These kind of things. Still a fairly small amount of money, but it gives us the ability to do some maintenance work on city buildings. We also are going to budget the amount of $170,000 next year for maintenance on city-owned buildings that are not necessarily hosting traditional city functions. We have work to do on the Market House Museum and the building that houses the Riverfront Discovery Center next year, so we expect to let a project for that. In addition to that, we propose to spend some more money, budgeting $125,000 for some additional engineering and design work for a prospective renovation of City Hall, a building that has been in place for about 60 years now. Very good investment on the part of the city, but it's a building that if it's going to serve another 40 or 50 years needs some reinvestment. So we're looking at a project not too far down the road there for some level of renovation that will no doubt be a fairly significant project as city projects go. So those are some highlights of the budget proposal. A lot of work went into this. I'm especially proud of the department directors because they were expected to absorb a lot of expense increases that were beyond their control by making reductions in other areas. And they met that challenge, and they did it by another round of belt tightening that, going back to the workshop last week, I believe we have to recognize at some point that you can become efficient to the point of where you cannot continue program delivery at the same level. So if you reach that point of where you cannot assure the public or guarantee, if you will, a certain level of service, you need to be upfront about that. And if you know you can't, you need to make that known. So if this trend continues next year, I think we will be talking about some program reductions that would have measurable impacts for the public. And as an organization, we're willing to do that, and I think that we have the people in place that have enough experience in their trades as well as in the city department to be able to bring those kind of recommendations forward. Now, whether those recommendations are ultimately found to be acceptable by the elected officials or not is an open question, but I think that's the point at which you see the value for the investment, and we'll see how that goes next year. But I think that next year's budget process, again, unless some trends reverse themselves, is going to be even a bit more challenging. So I would answer any questions that anybody might have.
Any comments?
Well, comment-wise, I think we're doing exactly what a lot of people are doing around their kitchen table, looking at priorities, trimming back where they feel they need to do that, so that positioning themselves to move forward. I'd like to just echo what the city manager stated about our department heads, digging in there, finding those things, putting things off, being creative within the departments on getting things done, trying to save as much money as possible. I think when you do that, then you can very adamantly talk about cutting costs where you need to cut it without affecting services to a point. And then, but when that happens, and if it happens, I think folks are a lot more understanding when they know that you've done just about everything you can do, and the only thing left to do is possibly this. I think that takes a lot of anxiety out of what may happen.
Yeah, I think city manager's done a great job. Worked hard on this along with John Perkins and his team, and along with the whole staff. I think the editorial Sunday was pretty fair with the pension plans and the problems that the state and cities and counties have with that. Unfortunately, the state of Kentucky has decided not to address it like states like Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio, Tennessee, Florida, a lot of other states that are aggressively trying to get their hands around it. But our cost on that keep going up, as well as other costs. So, Jeff, you're exactly right. At some point, I mean, we have tried to do a lot of quality of life issues in Paducah. The skateboard park, the Greenway Trail, the dog park, a good police department where people feel safe, a good fire department, good roads. Rick keeps our roads in great shape. A strong downtown, strong lower town, good education. We've guaranteed that anybody that wants to go to college out of high school in McCracken County can go, and it will be paid for. So we're doing a lot of the things. We're trying to bring jobs in here. We're paying out economic development incentives in order to bring jobs in here. So you have to balance those type of things with the availability of money. And in 6 months, you'll have a new mayor, you'll have a new commission, and they will be wrestling with that. I know that they'll do a good job, and they'll continue to try to balance those. The press can be pretty tough on us on a lot of things, but I know you all will stay strong, and you'll continue to make the tough decisions. So, Jeff, my hat's off to you and your people for a job well done.
Well, I appreciate that, but again, this process was underway before I came here, and I think that's good because I think Commissioner Abraham made an excellent point. If that time comes when that choice needs to be made on one side or the other of the ledger, for you all and the public to have the confidence in knowing that we had become as lean as we could and turned over as many stones as we could, then it makes that decision not only a better decision, but one I think that will be more quickly understood and supported. So that's what I hope we can do for you all.
Okay, Commissioner Watkins.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending Section 126761, signs authorized for pop zone of Chapter 126, zoning of the Paducah Code of Ordinances. This ordinance is summarized as follows: at 126-76, sign regulations of Chapter 126, zoning. The Paducah Code of Ordinances is hereby amended to change the maximum height of business signs in the Planned Office Park Zone, POP, from 4 feet to 12 feet.
Okay, Mr. Irvin.
Currently in the Information Age Park, there's two different sign regulations. One is for general businesses out there, and that is 4 feet, and then hotels and restaurants are allowed to have a maximum of 25 feet. The change of this of the sign regulations from 4 feet to 12 feet would bring some existing non-conforming signs within the Information Age Park into compliance.
Questions?
Nope.
All right. Good job, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Galt. Wait a minute. Commissioner Abraham.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing the Finance Director to pay for the sole source purchase of annual maintenance of the wall-to-wall murals located on the City of Paducah flood wall along Water Street for fiscal year 2013. This ordinance is summarized as follows: that the Finance Director of the City of Paducah, Kentucky is hereby authorized to pay Herbro the total amount of $24,900, which includes expenses for travel, $700, lodging, $2,500, and other living expenses, $1,500, for annual maintenance of the wall-to-wall mirrors located on the City of Paducah's flood wall along Water Street.
Second.
Okay, Mark.
Mayor, Commissioners, Herbro is a Dafford associate and is who they have contracted with several years, and this is just the annual contract to go through and improve a couple of more of the murals.
Roe emailed everybody, said that he was here now working. We get a lot of comments about the beauty of our murals. We need to keep them maintained, keep them that way, so I think it's money well spent. Any comments?
Yeah, how long will the whole process take?
Basically, it'll go on rotation as they go. He's going to go on, and they'll probably need it back again right after that, because I think there are 19 or 20, and so he does a couple every year.
You never get through, Richard.
It's one of those.
Well, no. I knew that, but I mean, how much time is spent in the city per, a couple of meals? About how long is that?
He's here about 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
To do that.
All right.
And then he comes back sometime in the spring too for a short time.
Okay.
I thought you were talking the other way. So,
No.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Make sure and tell Roe that we got our monies coming. Okay, Commissioner Galt.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing the Finance Director to pay AES Environmental LLC for the disposal of household hazardous waste collected during the City County Free Cleanup Day. This ordinance is summarized as follows: that the City that the finance director is hereby authorized to pay AES Environmental LLC in the amount of $30,150 for the disposal of household hazardous waste collected during the city-county free cleanup day.
Second.
Okay, Rick.
Mayor Commission, this is something that's done annually, whereas we have the countywide free dump day down at Public Works, where everything's ferried over to CWI at the transfer station. We actually receive a grant for $27,000, so that difference of $30,000 to $27,000, $3,000 is split between us and the county.
Any questions for Rick?
Dump Day is just about as big as some of the festivals around here, isn't it, with the number of participants we have? It's a very popular event.
It can be. I mean, you'd be surprised how much stuff people collect in a year, only to say, well, I'm going in April and I'm going to take it then.
Free.
Free.
So we need to have Mary Hammond start advertising today, along with all the festivals.
We can market that.
All right, Rick, thank you. Good job. Commissioner Kaler.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an agreement for operation of the public access Channel 2 and 11 and other related services. This ordinance is summarized as follows, that the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to execute a contract between the City of Paducah, West Kentucky Community and Technical College, and Paducah Junior College in an amount not to exceed $60,000 for operation of public access Channel 2 and 11 and related services to the city.
Second.
Okay, who's going to do this? Pam?
I can do it. This is a contract. It's an annual contract, but if none of the parties dispute anything, it will continue through 2016. It stays the same from what it was previously, with WKCTC getting $60,000. That comes from the general fund for all of their services that they provide. They record the city commission meetings, the planning commission meetings, plus all the programming that they do for channels 2 and 11. In addition, the city provides an amount equal to a quarter per Comcast subscriber per month. That averages about $23,000 a year. So that is part of this contract as well. The contract in general stayed the same. We just cleaned up some of the language.
Any questions? No. They do a good job for us. They really do. Thank you, Pam. City Manager's report.
I have before you an action item tonight authorizing the establishment of a second building inspector position. This one would be Deputy Building Inspector 2. I need to explain a little bit why this is on here or how it happens to be on here. This is in anticipation of favorable reading on the ordinance next week or next meeting that will reorganize the department. But I know it looks a bit like something's been proceeding here in maybe too much anticipation. I just want to point out that we began a process 6-7 months ago of advertising for what we thought might be the director's position and establish a pool that once the reorganization, which was quite a evolution from where we were when we started the advertisement, but once the reorganization appeared to be a likely scenario, I authorized the HR department working with the chief and Greg to take a look at that pool and see if there were candidates in there that might be able to be considered for what we concluded would need to be the second building inspector position. So in fact there were, and interviews have been conducted, and a candidate has been found that we think would meet the needs of the city. So we're asking that tonight you make this authorization so that an offer is made to a candidate that would then come forward for your approval on the personnel actions next week to coincide our next meeting with your second reading and final approval of the reorganization ordinance. The bottom line of all that is it would allow this hiring of this second building inspector position to occur somewhat simultaneous with the reorganization and get that person on board so we can start getting the advances that we want to throughout the department. Did I leave anything for you, Cindy?
I would just like to say an additional formalization of it would be adding the head count to the pay and position table. that we will be presenting on June 26th meeting. On that pay and position table, you'll see a lot of changes, and during that time, we'll submit the final changes recommended by Dr. McGrath for your consideration, and where people need to be within ranges. So we'll include that headcounts in just that additional formality.
And this is the same position that we talked about in the organizational chart last Tuesday.
Yes.
Yes.
Any other questions for Cindy or Jeff?
I have a motion.
All right.
I move that the Board of Commissioners authorize the hiring of an additional Deputy Building Inspector 2 position at a pay grade L, range of $38,700 to $58,800 in the inspection department.
Second.
May I just mention one thing that came out last week in the slide that should be noted publicly is that in conjunction with this reorganization, while this is an additional position, it represents the reinstatement of a position that had been in place but was done away with. But perhaps more importantly, there is a position that had been in place that is going to be done away with, and that is a former clerical position in the department. So it's a net even in terms of the numbers there.
Thank you. Good job. Commissioner comments. Public comments. Okay, that ends our meeting. We do have an executive session, and who has that for us? Commissioner?
I move that the board go into closed session for discussions of matters pertaining to the following topics. A specific proposal by a business entity where public discussion of the subject matter would jeopardize the location, retention, expansion, or upgrading of a business entity as permitted by KRS 61.8101G.
Second.
Okay, we will not be coming back to take any actions, so we are adjourned. Thank you.
We have to vote on that.